We now arrive at dynamic HTML, abbreviated DHTML. Dynamic HTML is typically used to describe the combination of HTML, style sheets, and JavaScript that brings interactivity and movement to your web pages. Dynamic HTML allows a web page to change after it's loaded into the browser. There doesn't have to be any communication with the web server for an update. So you can think of dynamic HTML as animated HTML. I have a couple examples queued up here for you. Notice that I have what I call a disjointed rollover, where I'm bringing up some additional images, not from the server, but here on the page. I have another example of some dynamic HTML on this page. If I click on the image, it fades out, like so. So these are all examples of dynamic HTML. Things such as text changing from one size or color to another when rolled over, or a graphic that can move from one location to another, in this case fade out in response to some kind of user interaction, such as clicking on a button or rolling over a section of the page. Using dynamic HTML will give you greater creative control. It will also give you the ability to manipulate any page element or change styles, positioning, and content at any time. DHTML provides a richer, more dynamic experience for the visitors that visit your web pages, making your pages more like dynamic applications and less like static web pages. DHTML presents richly formatted pages and lets users interact with the content on those pages without having to download additional content from the server. That's the key, is that I'm not downloading any additional content. That's why these are so quick and responsive. One of the more practical things that the JavaScript component of this DHTML does is increase the aesthetics and friendliness of websites by adding author-specified user events to static pages. For example, JavaScript allows the page author the ability to embed page statements which allow users to respond to certain common events, such as when you move the mouse cursor over a link. JavaScript is the most often scripting language used to create these dynamic HTML documents. So to get the most out of DHTML, you'll need solid knowledge of both HTML and CSS as well as JavaScript. The main components of dynamic HTML authoring include positioning, style modifications, event handling, dynamic content, and downloadable fonts. The style modifications include on-the-fly altering of the aesthetics of the content on the page. Positioning allows you to precisely place blocks of content on the page and, if desired, move these blocks around. Strictly speaking, this is a subset of the style modifications. Event handling lets you relate user events to changes in positioning or other style modifications. Dynamic content actually changes the words, pictures, or multimedia on a page without another trip to the web server. This is the example that I showed earlier when I clicked on the image and it faded out. And downloadable fonts lets you use the fonts of your choice to enhance the appearance of your text. This is a big deal for web designers, since with standard HTML you're relying on the fonts that are available to the user's computer, so you really are restricted in the kinds of fonts you can use in your projects. With dynamic HTML, you can use the fonts of your choice. You can package the fonts with the page so that the text is always displayed with your chosen fonts.